Today, let's talk about mobility and the importance of mobility. So what happens if we happen to sit too long? What happens if we happen to be doing the same type of activity over and over again? What happens if you have an area that is injured? Let's take the first scenario because that applies to a lot of people today. Let's say you're sitting hunched over the computer all day long, or you're on the phone all day long and you're stressed. You guys see this? So as a result of this area here, there's a big muscle here amongst many others that will tighten up. And as a result, you might start seeing your neck shrinking up because your shoulders are here. Your breathing, if you're, let's say, really stressed, might look like really tight. And you might just feel like, oh, at the end of the day, you might feel like, do you ever feel like you almost want to pull your head away, or you're doing frequently this because you feel tension? That is stiffness that is happening in this case because of repetitively doing the same thing over and over again. So if I was really tight here and if I was not aware of how I move, for example, when I lift my arms up, whether it's to do an exercise or maybe I am reaching to put away dishes out of the dishwasher, what might likely happen is you might be doing this. So now this is tight, now I'm doing this, and what am I doing? This does not feel good onto my neck. It is reinforcing that pattern that I already have, that tightness that I already have. And you might even be like, oh, I don't like to put dishes or lift things up, or you might be doing exercises in the gym and you're like, oh, that does not feel good onto my neck. It is because in that area there is stiffness. Perhaps there is an injury because you have a shoulder injury, and that stiffness is now preventing the mobility that will help you get stronger but not stiffer. We are going to do the movement differently than to reinforce a poor pattern of movement that you already have. So very frequently, let's do this. You're going to take your arms up and you're going to take your arms down. The very first time that people do this, I see this. That does not do the body good. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about reaching your fingertips down towards the floor, and I want you to activate the muscles that are here. You can actually even touch and see, is this activated? And then from here, you're going to take your arms up. If you're really tight, gentlemen, a lot of times that's you are going to go maybe wider. And you're only going to go as wide as you can while these muscles are staying active without this happening. Now, if you have an injury, for example, I have injuries on my right side. For me, I have to work that right side a lot more intentionally so that I don't go into my neck, and eventually you can move faster. But in the beginning, you might have to be really intentional to be able to accomplish this without this happening. The other thing that might happen is if you're now trying to change your position, because that might feel like a ton of work, even if it's just lifting your arms up. I'm going to engage my core, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I can't use the muscles that I'm used to always using. So what you might do is you might do this, versus nothing changes, and you take your arms up. Now I can even reach for the ceiling and create length into my body. And actually I'm feeling a stretch into my low back. I'm staying nice and engaged without losing control. So you guys see a front move. I can take those arms up and I can take a big stretch all the way from my powerhouse. This is what I teach people. You originate every movement of the limbs from your powerhouse, and then you resist and come back down. I'm feeling this side want to twitch, so I have to be very intentional to how I move. So why am I talking about all of this? Is because I want you to realize that if you have poor patterns, when you're exercising in your daily functional movement, you want to be mindful of how you're moving. And if you have stiffness, this is why if you're middleweight, you have probably heard that you need to stretch, is because that stiffness would limit the way that you move. And you might go into compensations when you move. When you go into compensations, you're not moving biomechanically properly, which then reinforces the compensations. So play around with your body, see what you discover, and let me know what questions you have.